Welcome to Mindle Podcast Episode 2, where we're mingling over narratives. So as usual, I'm Emin.
I'm Farhan.
Okay. So in today's episode, we're gonna cover an interesting topic that everyone can relate with. So Farhan, I'm gonna leave you to talk.
Are you serious? Okay, so today we have a special guest. Joining us today is Dr. Mahira. Clap, 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 clap. So, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Mahira. I am from here, born and bred. I grew up in Klang. I live in KL now.
Okay.
But I studied here in I went to Monash University.
Oh,
Monash.
Monash.
And then I
Represent.
And then I did housemanship here in Sungai Buloh Hospital. Memories. And then subsequent to that, I actually moved overseas, and I have been there ever since. I practiced medicine in Australia for 5 years, and am currently
Australia.
Yeah.
Melbourne, Sydney.
Fancy.
Fancy. It's alright. I'm currently in a break in training, so I'm like on a year off, like a gap year, but I'm specializing in psychiatry.
Psychiatry.
Yep, so that's my field of study.
So you are a psychiatrist.
No, I am training to become one, but I am, a doctor who's training to become a psychiatrist. So I work exclusively in the field of psychiatry. But I had to do the whole, everyone has to do everything before they can specialize in something. So I've done all of that, essentially. Yeah.
Psychiatry is not the same as psychology, right?
I think there's an overlap, but I think key differences is that if you are a psychologist, you graduate from a school of psychology. So you graduate with a psychology degree. Whereas if you're a psychiatrist, you go to med school and then you graduate with an MD, so you're a medical doctor. And then subsequent to that, you then enter a master's program or whatever, and you specialize in psychiatry. So the difference is that a psychiatrist is a doctor, psychologist is not.
Oh, so basically
psychologist is behind the curtain only lah.
Well, not really. I think you work hand in hand.
Okay.
Often in psychiatry, you work in a multidisciplinary team. So you need all hands on deck.
Psychologists don't work in hospitals.
They do. Some psychologists do. But they normally, you have clinical and non-clinical psychologists. So it depends. There are psychologists that work in big companies.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's quite complicated. But the summary is that if you're a psychiatrist, you're a doctor and you can prescribe meds. So if you want ubat, you need to see a psychiatrist. You can't go to a psychologist.
Oh.
So often if you're already seeing a psychologist, the psychologist will refer you to a psychiatrist because they can't give you medication. Because they're not a doctor.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know about that.
Me too.
So that's basically Mahira in a nutshell. So you actually got your doctorate.
Doctorate's like a PhD. I don't have a PhD. So I've got my medical degree, and I've been practicing for, I think I graduated maybe 7 years ago. So I've been practicing for 7 years now. So I've got 7 years experience as a doctor, essentially.
So is it legit that you can use the word doctor?
Yeah, I'm a doctor.
Okay. It's official.
But it kind of irks me. I'd rather just people call me by my name.
For me and Amy, we cannot call ourselves architects yet.
Yeah, because we have to take another exam. So we got the title AR.
Right.
Yep.
So it's I can call myself a doctor, but I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm training to be a psychiatrist.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that too.
Understand.
So let's jump into the questions. We actually gathered a bunch of questions from our audiences. This basically related to mental health. So I'm sure a lot of people can relate, especially those who actually suffers from it. We also want to answer the questions whether or not do you actually have mental health issues, or are you just delusional? And also something about religion.
Yeah.
Mix a little bit in there.
Okay.
I think the most popular, I would say, mental illness in current situation is normally anxiety, stress, and depression, right? So I'm not sure there is another mental illness other than 3 of these mental illness, but it's quite popular.
Yeah.
And can you explain to us anxiety, stress, and depression?
What's the difference?
Yeah, so I feel like this is so relevant in like this day and age because I feel like everyone has anxiety, everyone has depression, everyone is suffering from some kind of brain pain, right?
Yeah.
I like that word, brain pain.
brain
It's like
pain.
often like you just kind of feel uneasy, but it's really, I guess, as a layman, difficult to differentiate like what is anxiety, what is depression. Often they coexist. Often you have both. For instance, I think the easiest way to describe anxiety and depression, the difference in like layman terms, is that depression is more of a sadness, a hopelessness, you feel helpless, and anxiety is almost a jittery feeling where you're constantly worried or preoccupied about something. The symptoms are different, but I think they feed off each other. Anxiety often leads to depression. Depression can cause anxiety. So it's one of the same but different. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So like sadness and worry.
Okay.
Depression being sadness and anxiety being worry driven. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about anxiety because I don't have anxiety. But
lucky
what
you.
if I Okay, but what if I don't know that I have anxiety?
What?
Like what if I don't know that I have anxiety?
I think a lot of people don't, because it often has to get to a point where it's so bad that you are actually impaired in function. And I think that's very important because a lot of people are anxious, but the anxiety is temporary. And then you're okay again, right? What makes it pathological, meaning what makes it like...
Pathological?
Yeah, pathological. So that means like when you push it into the realm of disease or illness, what makes... When everybody worries, everyone is sad. But when is the worry and sadness an illness, right?
Yep.
So often like it's an illness when it starts impairing your day-to-day life. Suddenly you don't want to eat anymore and you're losing weight and you don't have energy and you can't go to work and you can't feed your children and you can't put food on the table because of
someone become less talkative.
Yeah, because of your sadness. I guess if it's starting to impact your functionality and like your ability to just like live, then it's an illness.
Is that depression?
Yeah, I would classify that as a depression. Depression's quite complex in itself. Like you've got different types of depression.
Like no will to live.
Yeah, but I think in summary, often like if it's a really bad depression, the key signs are lack of motivation. You stop finding joy in the things that used to bring you joy. There's a lack of will to live. And there's also often like coupled with weight loss. There's also something called atypical depression where the opposite actually happens. You sleep a lot and you eat a lot and you start gaining weight. But you still like...
Why are you staring at me when you look up?
Janganlah terasa.
Gaining weight.
You said gaining weight and then you look at me. Why?
No, I didn't.
I don't have
I'll look at
depression.
the wall then.
You're too sensitive. You're so sensitive.
Yeah.
Let's talk about being sensitive.
Okay. Continue.
Okay.
Wait, do you think being like depressed, right?
Yeah.
Does it have a lot to do with self-pity? Is that like the main fundamental? You feel sad for yourself, that's why you're depressed?
I think depression comes in a lot of shapes and forms, but what you're describing is a very common...
One of them.
Yeah, a very common pattern in like people with depression. So they're quite like... there's this, what we call negative cognition. So it takes over and you kind of self-deprecate and you think yourself as smaller than you actually are. And that actually like makes the depression worse. And then that worthlessness sets in and then you become like...
I'm worthless.
Yeah, and when you feel worthless, do you want to live?
What do you think about when someone suffers depression and they think that those people who suffer depression is just like a attention seeker?
It's a tough one.
Just want attention.
Yeah, I think
because I think that leads to the what's
another mental health issue.
The penal code 309.
306, yes, where suicide is.
Yeah, criminalized suicide. So maybe they actually meluluskan that act.
Yeah.
Because maybe back in those time they don't really know about much about
So they
mental
approve
health
it.
issue.
They approve it because they think people are faking it.
Yeah, faking it.
Yeah.
But people who are faking it is also mentally ill, right? Don't you think?
Yeah. So like, are you saying they're delusional and they're faking it in that sense?
Yeah, being delusional is an illness, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Because I think the penal code is, it's not really people in Malaysia, they don't really aware of this, because I just found out this penal code when I tried to research our podcast.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us about this section 309 of the penal code, criminalized
Is
suicide?
it 306?
I think it's 309, right?
We'll put it up on the screen, like the actual wording.
It's 306.
306, okay, 306.
So I'm just going to read it out for the audience.
Yep.
If any person commits suicide, whoever abates the commission of such suicide shall be punished with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 10 years and shall also be liable to fine. Oh, actually, that's anyone who...
What if someone died already and then they find the dead people?
Who's gonna pay the fine?
Yeah.
Who's gonna pay the fine?
So, wait, no, you're right. 309 is if you attempt to commit suicide.
Okay.
306 is if you help them.
To commit suicide.
Helps.
Oh,
To commit suicide.
Yeah. Don't quote me on this.
cancel.
But
Yeah.
Cancel Mahira.
because
But I guess-
yeah, but you agree on this?
No, no, my personal opinion is I don't think that suicide should be criminalized,
Yeah.
because if you are attempting to end your life, and I'm specifically talking about 309 here, so if like you are attempting to commit suicide, I'm not talking about like someone helping you commit suicide.
Yeah.
I think if you are attempting to end your life, you're probably not in your right mind. You're probably not lucid, and you're probably not making good decisions.
Delusional.
You're probably lacking decision-making capacity, which I think pushes you. No, I don't think. I know pushes you into the realm of mental illness. Why would you find a mentally ill person? Why would
Maybe
you?
it has to do with our religion.
Yeah, I think very much so. I think it's like a culturally driven, I guess, law.
Yeah.
That I think is quite arbitrary in the general sense, because it just doesn't seem human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But they actually macam sekarang pun dah masuk dalam parlimen, and then they try to
Yeah.
take this off.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think there are things being done.
Yeah.
But I think, if we talk about it more, get more momentum, will help.
What about the thing that you were talking about last time? The rate of suicide with men and women, the differences, like back then and now, like which one's rising, and I don't remember.
I think men are more likely to commit suicide depending on the age group. I think middle-aged men,
Is
So
it?
men
adolescent men.
is more higher.
Yeah.
Or like-
Why men?
I think it's just societal pressures in general, and women often have better coping mechanisms, and they're often more
Coping
mature.
mechanism.
And this is just facts.
Yeah.
Women are more mature.
Yeah. Macam feminist. Yeah, because I read an article yesterday. It says that men is actually has the high rate of suicide, and it's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is sad.
Recent news, the one in Kelantan, case he jumped off from the bridge. Yeah.
Oh.
Why don't you give us a backstory?
I'm not so sure, but the thing is, I think this guy has financial issue, so he becomes pity with the wife and then the children, and then on the TikToks, they show the message from the guy, and he said to the wife, "Sorry, abe, tak boleh nak." Kelantan lah, tak boleh nak ni lah. But basically he said that macam
Habiskan lah you punya sentence.
and I can't remember the word. But
Got me so excited.
what he said was, sorry, I've done my part and I cannot do anymore because of the financial issue.
It's usually the stress about
Yeah, he's
finance.
stressed out.
Yeah.
And then people found his car on the bridge, and then the people and that guy tak ada lah dalam tu. I think he jumped off, and then
They found his body.
I think they just found out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just found the body, if I'm not mistaken. I think they have. I don't know. The pencarian was like 2 weeks, like that.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So it's quite sad lah.
Yeah.
So that's like causes of men for suicide.
Yeah.
Stress.
Yeah.
Stress, we'll talk about stress in a bit, but I feel like with men, they're more likely to commit suicide because of several factors. But I think the main one is men often don't have support. Like, you know, the toxic masculinity, the culture, like men can't talk to men,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, women have their like girl groups and they like you know bitch on their husbands, and you know it's the reason why women live longer. It's because they just genuinely have better support structures and coping mechanisms. Often they deal with problems in a very mature way. Not all women, but most women. Men on the other hand, like I think in general develop a lot. Yeah, exactly. They tend to keep things to themselves. There's a lot of repressed energy. And then, you know, that repressed energy comes out in other ways, unhealthy ways. And if you find yourself, and that's also the reason why men are more likely to drink or have substance use issues.
Abuse.
Or, yeah, exactly. Men are more likely to engage in extramarital affairs or, you know, all sorts of things because they don't really have the same kind of outlet a woman does.
Support.
Yeah, so support is everything.
Yeah.
It's because like they will be identified as weak, and that's another thing that kind of pressures them.
So that's the societal pressure I'm talking about, like the toxic masculinity. Like I have to be a man. I'm a man. I can't cry. I'm a man. I can't show. You know, and then you deal with everything on your own, and everything gets a bit too much. And then the next thing you know, you're standing at a bridge alone. You're like texting your wife, sorry.
That's when you know you're already like at your edge.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite sad. And
I think it's okay to like kind of be vulnerable once in a while. I mean, it's a step process, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're suffering from something, you're stressed about something, you
But
should
what if
kind of.
those people who commit suicide, they hurt someone whispering to them? It's like, is there any like demonic influence?
like you're saying,
Demons.
like you're saying that they act out on character. They hurt someone.
Hasutan syaitan.
Yeah.
I think in our culture, often like if someone has a mental illness, more often than not, they will like see a bomo first.
Yeah.
What is a
Yeah, what is a bomo?
bomo? We talked about it in our last episode, right?
I mean, not a witch doctor, like could be an ustad as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
You know, I think first of all, I have to acknowledge that I guess in our religion we believe that there is
What?
Demons.
makhluk.
Makhluk halus.
Yeah, exactly.
Ghaib.
Like, yeah, right. So, like in Islam, we believe that, right? And I think, I'm not sure about other religions, but I guess because Malaysians predominantly are Muslims, that's like very strong in our culture. But also like in Chinese culture with like, you know, hungry ghosts and all that stuff.
Asian.
Yeah, we
Asian
just love the supernatural.
Yeah.
We often blame them for everything.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Salah hantu kopek.
Exactly. So macam I rasa there's good and bad in this situation. The good is that suicide rates are actually much lower in Muslim countries because, not just Muslim countries, just like countries who subscribe to a religion that prohibits suicide.
Yeah.
Suicide rates are actually much lower. Like much statistically much lower
Compared to
Muslim country.
yeah, like Western
Non-Muslims.
society, because you know because faith and spirituality actually like keeps you going. Some people hold on to this because it actually keeps them like actually makes them motivated. Exactly, makes them feel that there's something bigger than themselves, and like I think there's a huge role for like religion and spirituality. I think it becomes a problem when someone actually has a serious mental illness. When I say serious, I mean like schizophrenia,
delusional,
bipolar disorder, where you're like delusional, where you're suffering hallucination, serious stuff. And the reason why I say it's serious is because if you don't treat it, it actually damages your brain. Just imagine
physically.
Yeah, absolutely. Like imagine seeing things all the time, or being paranoid all the time, or thinking like someone's gonna kill you all the time. Imagine your brain like overheating 24 hours for like 2 months. That will like cause so much damage to your brain, and often it will lead to like early onset dementia. So macam this, for example, if you don't treat it, this person might like end up with a dementia or like some kind of like cognitive problem at the age of like 45, when they could have easily lived healthily to like the age of 70 or something. Well, maybe not 100, but like still it's quite debilitating. So when you don't seek help as soon as possible, because you don't know about the existence of these conditions.
Yeah, so it's good that you know.
Yeah, and you instead try like, bomo, but like traditional whatever.
Go see bomo.
Yeah, unfortunately, like the outcomes are not great. I think in situations like that, our culture and spiritual religious beliefs can get in the way. But I'm not saying that there's no role for it at all. I think there's like pros and cons,
I think a lot of other religions actually prohibits suicide, right?
I think Christianity.
Let's jump into one of the questions. Real quick.
From the audience.
Okay, how do you cope with being too sensitive?
Does it has to do with mental illness, sensitive? No.
Being sensitive.
I think it can lead to some problems, like interpersonal problems, like problems with people. Like kalau you cepat terasa, you get into like arguments.
So it can lead to like narcissistic punya.
Personality disorders. I think it's. I guess the question is, how do you cope with being overly sensitive? I think.
Start with the causes.
A lot of things can cause you to be sensitive. I feel like genetically, some people are just predisposed to being
genetic.
sensitive. Or if you grow up in a household where your like family's overly critical of you, naturally you'd become quite sensitive. So I think like it's a combination of your biology and also your, like how you grew up, your surroundings, your environment. In psychiatry, we have this thing called biopsychosocial. So it's like these three things will create like an outcome. So like you have to have like the genetic predisposition, but you also need to have like risk factors psychologically and socially. So psychologically, like for instance, like what environment you grow up in. Socially, it could be like, do your friends do drugs? Are you exposed to substances? All of these things will come together and create like, I suppose, a narrative or situation which will create who you are. You know what I mean?
So it's the influences around you.
So it's not just it's not just it's what you grew up with, your surroundings, the external factors, and I guess the internal factors would be like your biology, so your genetics.
Does it have to do with your sense of moral? Like being positive thinking. Like someone told me once, right? It's like some people they will label other people as villains, like they are like the bad guys. So that's how they always feel offended with everything, even if it's not meant for them. Do you think that's true, or if it is true, like where is it coming from?
I think it's very true. I think a lot of people struggle with this. There's a term for it. So locus of control. If you have an internal locus of control, you often feel like you blame yourself for the problems around you. So for instance, macam ni ada like I have let's say my phone is here, and like push it down like that.
That's real.
Sorry.
That's real.
It's okay. So I push it down and I'm like, oh shit, I accidentally pushed down my phone. It's my fault.
Yeah.
And then another situation would be like, I tengah cakap and then I accidentally pushed down my phone. So exact same situation. But instead of me blaming myself for pushing down my phone, I'd be like, Min, sebab you borak dengan I lah, phone I terjatuh.
Okay.
So that means that I have an external locus of control. So I tend to blame my surroundings for the like a situation at hand, the outcome.
Is that like developing yourself to become a narcissist?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of personality disorders, I mean like the cluster B. So when I say cluster B, I mean like narcissistic, antisocial, borderline, often have an external locus of control.
What is locus of control?
So locus of control is tu lah macam tendency to blame. So internal is tendency to blame yourself.
Yeah.
External is tendency to blame others. So locus of control meaning macam like you feel like if something happens, the outcome is a result of your own faults versus someone else's. So tendency to blame inside versus outside. So external locus of control will be the opposite lah. Internal is if I blame myself.
Can that be treated though?
I don't necessarily see it as something that needs to be treated. It's just how it like impacts your day-to-day life. Kalau dah sampai tahap macam kawan-kawan you cannot tahan you because you keep blaming them for everything, or you start becoming paranoid because you literally think that everyone is out to get you, it's a problem. You should do something about it.
Yeah. What if the person who is sensitive, this is like speaking on behalf of people who are sensitive. I'm imagining this is what they're thinking. What if it really is the people around them who are mistreating them or just being really disrespectful to them?
I think that's the reason why you need support is so important, because it's pertinent that you actually have other people telling you what's going on as well. So if like you feel this, it's good to have discussions. It's good to say, hey, I am feeling this way. Do you think I'm being rational? Do you think I'm overreacting?
So it's good to communicate.
Yeah, it's good to communicate with other people. So other people can also assess your surroundings and like tell you if you're like being realistic or if you're just like...
It's hard if you're like an introvert, right?
Yeah, precisely. And often the ones that become quite paranoid or develop like psychotic illnesses are quite recluse. Meaning diorang tak keluar, diorang tak lipat dengan orang, you know?
So what's your advice for introverts?
I don't think you need many friends. I don't think you need a lot of people. I think you just need one or two people that you trust. I would like strongly encourage people to get out there and like really try to find their person or some kind of support. If you're struggling with mental illness, that is, rather than keep everything to yourself. I have friends who are like that, who, you know, find the need to kind of isolate themselves.
Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah, isolate themselves because they don't want to be a burden, right?
Yeah.
And that is what I was talking about when it comes to like locus of control. They have an internal locus of control. So they feel like, oh, kalau aku cerita dengan orang masalah aku, then I am burdening them, which is not true. It's not true. It's a false narrative. And then on the opposite spectrum, you have friends who like constantly like shit talk other people or like are constantly complaining about their life or whatever. Sebab macam, you know, everything is everyone else's fault, and those people have a different set of problems. Those people end up pushing people away, right? Yeah. So
and they feel like they're the main character.
Yeah, they feel like they're the main character, and that's why I said often these are the people that develop like narcissistic personality types. And not everything's a disorder. Some people just have traits, but so I think the key is balance. Like you have to be a little bit of both. You have to be able to like objectively assess your situation and know when to blame yourself and know when to like also put responsibility onto others if you truly believe that, you know, you're not at fault. There needs to be a balance.
So for those who can relate to this, if you got any more questions, don't worry, you can just leave the questions down in the comments, because Mahira will be back for another one to answer. We'll discuss about it later. Mahira returns.
Should we talk about weight gain and psychology?
Weight gain.
And weight gain.
Does that be like weight gain? Does it relate to the psychological behavior?
I think so. It's quite a wide topic. So are we talking about like weight gain in terms
Yeah.
of image?
Like no, like when someone is obese or something, right? Does that relate to their mental issues that they're having? They're struggling with something,
Could be.
or is it physical that they really just can't lose weight?
Can be vice versa too, right?
I think often like weight gain could be a number of things, but if say you're a healthy individual and you're gaining weight because of low mood, then that low mood then the weight gain is obviously precipitated by some sort of like mental disorder, right?
Yeah.
So it could be like I was talking about atypical depression. So that's like a subset of depression where instead of losing appetite and losing weight, you actually eat more and you gain weight. Or I guess like another way you could put it is like stress eating.
Or it could be a coping mechanism, right?
Yeah, a coping mechanism. Some people have eating disorders where they excessively binge eat.
Yeah.
That could lead to weight gain as well. Like we saw it in.
That's me.
That's you?
Yeah.
Oh, you ate.
I used to be like 20 kilos
Right.
heavier.
Okay. And do you feel like you did it as a coping mechanism, like you would overeat to deal with stress?
I think me, it's just like the pleasure of eating, you know?
So you're not having mental illness.
I don't know.
It's a way for you. Okay, so like when you're sad.
Eating disorder.
Maybe because I've been fat for the whole my life lah.
You're not fat.
I mean,
you're
last
not
time I was
fat.
fat.
When?
My high school, I was quite fat, and then middle school, a bit fat, not obese, but a bit fat. But it's not about the mental illness. It's just like Farhan said, I just enjoy eating. So until now.
I think like body image is a very subjective thing. Like you could be a bit bigger, I guess, than the average. But if you're confident, if your personality can carry you and you have no problem with your perception of yourself, you'll be fine.
Right.
Like you won't have any issues.
But it's only a problem when it's affecting your health.
Yeah. I think, I guess in the realm of eating disorders, I think it's a problem. Siapa yang that singer that had that gained a lot of weight?
Adele.
Adele? No, Adele lost weight.
Oh.
Demi Lovato.
Oh, yeah.
She had bulimia, I think.
What's bulimia?
So bulimia is an eating disorder. So with eating disorders, you have a binge restrict pattern. So restrict means you tak nak makan, so you starve, and then that's when you become anorexic. Binge is when you makan banyak gila, and then you tend to like puke, you vomit it out. That's bulimia. But then just because
She gains.
because when I say binge, I mean like makan, that's what I call it. Yeah, like that kind of binge. It's like no kidding, like they will eat like 4 like crates of pizzas on their own. And, yeah, and it's and the reason why they do that, I think it comes from there's a million different reasons, but at the end of the day, like the aim is to feel good temporarily, but it's like a vicious cycle because it ends up making them feel terrible.
Like how come mukbangers all macam kurus then they eat a lot? Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, just a theory.
Yeah.
Could be.
No human is meant to eat that much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's healthy. But people enjoy it. Like watching it.
You like watching mukbang?
Really, it kind of like grosses me out a little bit. I'm being completely honest.
My wife loves it.
Huh?
My wife loves it.
Yeah,
every
she
night.
loves it.
Every night.
Is it because of the ASMR quality?
I think because she's hungry. She's no, because she doesn't want to eat much. So she gets full when she watch mukbangs. Yeah. Yeah.
It makes me more hungry.
Yeah, it makes me hungrier as well.
That's weird.
Yeah. But then after that kan dah nak tidur, so macam dia tidur lah.
Yeah.
I don't mind
empty
mukbang.
stomach.
Not my favorite lah, but I don't mind watching it once in a while. It seems like we're running out of time.
Yep.
So we should like wrap it up with one last question.
Hey, astrology.
Yeah.
Ooh, our favorite topic.
Another interesting topic that I should ask you, and because it's been lingering around my head lah. Basically, it's about astrology.
Okay.
And I'm not a big fan, on astrology, and I find it like how to say?
Ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous and ridiculous. Yeah, when people come to me and then, hey, what's your sign? I still, I don't have any sign. And then dia macam like make me annoyed lah actually.
Really?
Because you judge someone by the zodiac sign.
Oh, I get that.
So that's the main point of
your
my
horoscope does not define you.
Yeah.
Don't put me in a box.
Don't put me in the box. So what do you think about astrology? And wait, psychology and astrology, is it related?
I want to say no, because I guess in clinical practice, everything should be evidence-based. So it should be backed by data that's, like studies, things have been trialed, etc. You can't study astrology. It's so difficult. It's so subjective. So I'd say no. Like I'd say it's like magical thinking a little bit, I feel. I personally don't believe in it.
Yeah.
It is enjoyable though. It's nice to be like, oh yes, I have these traits. Because honestly, like I'm Sagittarius, and when I read about like what a Sagittarius is, what they tend to be like, a lot of it actually hits the spot. But I think that could be pure coincidence, because I'm sure that there are like some introverted, not loud Sagittarius out there.
You're a Sagittarius.
I am.
Oh, I'm a Libra.
You're a Libra.
Yeah. What about you?
Doing this again.
Mine is what? Aquarius.
Aquarius.
Those kind of things. It's just ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, disclaimer, sorry for those who believe in it. But I don't know, somehow
I think it's just
quite
for fun.
annoying. Sometimes macam, okay, let's say lah.
They take it too literally.
They take it too literally. To one thing. And then, respect. Facts. And then let's say lah, a serial killer who happens to be
a serial killer.
Aquarius lah. And it happens to be an Aquarius person. And then all those Aquarius person ada potentially akan jadi serial killer.
No, of course not.
So that's my point lah. Kan, I mean that doesn't define. I mean zodiac sign doesn't define who you are. That's my point lah. So if someone come to me and then, what's your sign? I'm just gonna punch in his face lah.
Whoa, so much anger.
So basically, just to like in conclusion, if you're looking in the perspective of a psychologist or a psychiatrist, like you can't really mix superstition or magical things together with like facts, like science.
I think there has to be a distinction, because I think when you jumble up the two, it's really hard to like objectively treat someone in a medical sense. But that being said, honestly, like I said, there's a place for spirituality, and there's a place for religion, and there's a place for all of those things.
It's coexist.
In I guess managing your own mental well-being. Because like I said, like your religion and spirituality gives a lot of people hope. And at the end of the day, like when you're battling depression, when you're battling anxiety, you want something that you can fall back on, and that's when those things are helpful or relevant. But I think the problem is when it becomes a barrier to you actually accessing certain mental health treatments, if you're suffering from, again, serious mental health disorders. If you're not going to the right place, you're not actually seeking out proper treatment, and it may actually jeopardize your well-being, like when I talk about schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and it causing cognitive decline or dementia, basically like overheating your brain and making you even more sick, and you're not going because you're subscribing to more traditional type treatment. I think that is dangerous, but I don't think that it's all bad.
You need a balance, a healthy balance. It's not wrong to believe in horoscopes, but just don't get carried away, right?
Yeah, precisely.
I mean, you don't have to believe it like 100%. It depends. If you want to, it's like...
No, Aquarius is like a critical mind thinking. So they question things. They question this kind of things, Anything that doesn't make sense.
Now you believe in horoscopes. You said
Only if it benefits you.
But yeah, still don't believe in it. Okay. I think that's all for this episode.
So-
We thank you, Dr. Mahira,
Oh, thank you
for being here. We flew her
All the way from
quite
Sydney.
far. Yeah,
I didn't
quite
lie,
far.
guys. I've been here for like 2 months. Lie. They want to make it sound fancy, you know.
Like I'm doing that now.
We'll cut that part.
Okay, I think that's for now. Again, thank you, Dr. Mahira, and then Fahad. I leave you.
Okay, so if you guys have any more questions, like before, like don't forget to just like throw them down in the comment section. And then if you like this video, hit a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this podcast to one of your friends who you think they can relate to and you think it might help them with their mental health issues. And catch you guys on the next one.
I'll see you in the next episode podcast.
Yeah, hope you guys can join us again on Mindle
Podcast.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Bye bye.
Peace. That's a wrap. Let's go celebrate.
Yeah.